Hi, DB Pollen from ambientvibes.com. Today I want to demonstrate a couple modules here that have gotten quite a bit of talk and speculation in the industry in the last several months over their similarities and differences. A lot of people are asking, well, which one's a better module for me if I want to do some simple sample playback, some granularization, some mangling of sounds, and each of these modules basically can do that very, very well. So the way I look at these modules, this type of module, is that they can do two different things. They can play a sample back, obviously, at normal sample playback speed, but they can also do granularization, which is what they both specialize in, and they can also do quite a bit of distinctive mangling of the sounds. And what that mangling is when you generate grains of a sample, you split up the sample into many, many very, very small, infinitesimally small parts, and you overlap them together and run them over each other. That's what the mangling comes in, and it takes the sample and creates a totally new, different sound on the output, and that's really what these types of modules excel at. So what I want to do is just to go over today to the differences in these modules. Which one is better for you? Now, some people, as I mentioned, they want the granularization and the mangling of the sounds, and each of these modules, both the Nebulae version 2 from Qu-bit and the Morphagene from Make Noise Sound Hack can do that. And a lot of you are looking more for the ambient drone type sound. So you take these mangling of individual grains, and you come up with a single very slowly oscillating note or quickly oscillating note that can produce a steady drone sound, which is good for ambient. If you add that through some effects like some reverb, it produces quite a striking effect. So what I want to do is just to kind of go through each of these modules and just to kind of demonstrate what each of these can do, both on the granularization side and on the ambient drone type of sound side. So on the left, as I mentioned, we have the Qu-bit Nebulae 2, version 2, and the Make Noise Sound Hack Morphagene. Okay, this one retails for around 500, a little over 500, and this one retails for 429. So there is a price difference between these two. This is a little bit cheaper than this one. This one takes SD cards. You can load up your samples onto an SD card, or you can record directly through the input, and it'll save it on the SD card. Now that is one of the disadvantages of the Nebulae, is that you cannot save on a USB stick yet. It comes with a Qu-bit USB stick, has some samples on there already, but you cannot play a sample back or play in a sample through the stereo inputs and have it save on the USB stick. Although I heard Qu-bit is working on a firmware update that could make that possible. Fingers crossed for that. So what I want to do now is, and I'll explain the flow that I have right now. So I have sound coming out of the Nebulae, going into a quadrat actually, because I attenuate the outputs a little bit, because when I want to bring it into the Morphagene, it sometimes the levels are a little bit high. Even if you do the auto leveling, it doesn't work quite well. It can clip very easily, and then out of the Morphagene into have it going into a Magneto, and from the Magneto going into my mixer, and the mixer is sidechaining into a Strymon BigSky. Now both the Magneto and the mixer, and the BigSky have their feeds off right now, so you should be hearing a dry signal only. And as long as the SOS knob on the Morphagene is over to the left, you'll be hearing the dry signal coming out from the Nebulae. So it goes in here, through here, and out. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to play back the same sample from the Nebulae and the same sample from the Morphagene. So what I did is I took the sample from the Nebulae, I recorded it into the Morphagene so that they should be one and the same, okay? So here's the first sample. So it's just a simple koto playback. You can speed it up on the Nebulae. Normalize it, you can go backwards. Now I must say one interesting difference between these two, and the Nebulae actually does this quite well in adjusting the speed of the playback, and also individually you can adjust the pitch. So it maintains the same speed of the sample, but you can maintain the pitch, or you can change the pitch. That you cannot do with a Morphagene. The Morphagene has one speed control, so as the pitch changes, or as the speed changes, the pitch changes as well. Let's just go ahead and let's go around and play with this a little bit. I'm playing with just the dry sample right now, adjusting the speed and the pitch. When I turn the blend knob over, I will start to be able to granularize this. Now you're not hearing anything yet because I haven't produced any individual grains. You do that through density. Doesn't sound like much right now because it's taking the whole sample. But if you change the start point and the size, what it's doing is it's making individual windows. It's making a window. The start point will change in different parts of the sample, and then with the size it changes the size of the window. So I can start, say here, and then move the size down, and what this will do is it'll grab a very small portion of this sample. The density determines how many grains are produced for that sample. Now what the window function will do is it'll change the way that the grains are let out through like a filter. So if you like take a card and you punch holes in it, the grains will come out those holes. So if you change the window CV, those holes appear in different places in that card. It's a different algorithm to let the grains through. Let's speed it up a little bit. Lower it, lower the pitch. And this is that mangling type of effect which I mentioned. So now I'm going to overlap some of the grains. And you can see the size of the window is very small. The start point is a little bit more than halfway, and the size is a little bit more than halfway. If I change the size, I'm going to get to a smaller sequence. Adding in some of the original sample here. Now what I want to do is I want to see if I can get a drone to come out here. On each of these modules, there really is a sweet spot that you have to look for. I'm going to add a little bit of reverb in there. That's a pretty good effect right there. There's a nice drone type of sound. You can get a little bit of oscillation going here. Now, one thing this Qu-bit Nebulae does that the Morphagene cannot do is freeze. So I've frozen the signal. It takes one grain basically and freezes it. And you can of course change the pitch of that, but you lose that oscillation. Now I can add in a little bit of the Magneto. Now I'm going to put the Magneto in its shift function. Okay, so that's the nebulae. Let's turn the dries all the way up. Okay, so now, as you see, I'm going to come over here and change the sound on sound of the Morphagene to what should be the same sample on the Morphagene. And we're back to that sample. So let's see what we can get with the Morphagene. Now the morph feature on this is very similar to the size feature on the nebulae. I haven't created any splices in here yet. That's something that the Morphagene does very, very well, of course, that the nebulae can't do, and I'll demonstrate in a second. Now, this is a very similar drone to what we just got. You can see how much easier it was to get on the Morphagene. You turn the morph past 3 o'clock, it'll start putting in little snippets of an octave higher. I'll demonstrate very quickly what the Morphagene can do in terms of the slices. So we'll take it back up to its normal speed. Now it slices. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 slices. I have the new firmware on the Morphagene, so it has step CVs on the pitch, on the speed, and it has the smooth morphing on. A little bit of drone going here. The Morphagene also gives there's a sweet spot that you have to find. I'll add a little reverb. That's good right there. Let's add in some Magneto. Again, I'll put it in the shift mode. Okay, let's do one more for each of these, and I'm going to demonstrate how to record over into the Morphagene as well. Okay, now I'm back over to the Nebulae. Start all the way down, size all the way over, blend all the way counterclockwise. There's a good one. Now I'm just going to demonstrate. I'm not going to bother describing the patching.
Sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. Sometimes I get a 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 sometimes
recorded in the Morphagene.
I get a good feeling, yeah. Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. Oh,
Yeah, I like the Morphagene.
sometimes good feeling, yeah. Good feeling, yeah. Good feeling, yeah. Good feeling, yeah.
Yep, let's do that again.
Oh,
What I need to do is
sometimes
change into a new
I get a good
point here, a new buffer.
feeling, yeah.
Here we go.
Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah.
That's
Oh,
There we go.
sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah. Oh, sometimes. Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, sometimes I get a good feeling, yeah.
Okay, I think you get a kind of a good idea of the differences between the modules. So granularization-wise, they both can work very, very well, although they use different ways of granularizing and different ways of playing them back and overlapping them. I would say that the Morphagene comes across as being a little bit more fluid in terms of how it overlaps the grains with one another. The Nebulae definitely sounds a little more digital in the way it produces the grains and the way it plays it back. The Morphagene is definitely a more organic sounding module. If you want to do straight granularization, change the pitch and tempo of a sample, the Nebulae is great, especially with a separate pitch and speed controls. That's something that the Morphagene definitely cannot do. If you're playing back samples and you want to adjust the sample speed so it matches your rhythm, this is great. This won't be able to do it without changing the pitch. Okay, that's very, very important to keep in mind. In terms of file handling and everything, they both have their quirks. I've had some difficulty in loading up new samples and getting the factory samples back on here. With this, though, when you want to put when you want to put your own samples on this card, you have to format it in a very, very specific format and get it to load in here. It can be a little bit difficult, but this is they're both actually very, very easy to get your own recorded samples in by using the inputs. Stereo inputs here, stereo outputs on both as well. This does not have the freeze function that this does, but really the freeze function only gives you a single grain. It just becomes an oscillator. There are some alternative modes on here which you can access by holding down the, in fact I can show it to you. If you hold down this, oh, maybe that wasn't one, maybe it was speed. Yeah, there we go. Now you have basically 4 different programs in here. This is a one-shot sample player. There's an oscillator, just a single voice oscillator in here, so it can do different things. But really, that's not what you want to use it for at this point. You want to use it for the sample playback. Both modules, I think, can do sample playback very, very well. I'm leaning towards the Morphagene in terms of being able to organically adjust the grains, and it's much quicker to get an ambient drone out of Morphagene. So I think the bottom line is, if you want straight manipulation of samples and some granularization, a little bit of mangling here and there, the Nebulae is fine. It's $100 cheaper as well. But if you want to go for something that can really get you an organic sound, it's a lot of fun to play with and just has many more of those sweet spots that you can discover in a sound, definitely the Morphagene is the way to go. I really enjoy the Morphagene, especially out of the latest firmware, which gives you a morph blending function and step CVs on the speed. So it's a very, very excellent module. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this and will help you make a decision as to which one is better for you. As usual, if you have any questions about this, please go ahead and leave your comments in the down below after this video, and I'll see if I can answer them. Thanks for watching.